Hello everyone, welcome back for video 9, and this is going to be our video for the midway point through the 6 weeks of chemo and radiation therapy. As you can see, probably those of you who've been watching the videos notice that my hair is different, and the reason for that, I was holding out as long as I could until my hair started to fall out, and this past weekend it did. It was coming out in patches, so I'm not going to turn around to show you the back of my head, but there are definitely patches where I'm completely bald back there. We have a lot to share this week from this past week. It's been an eventful past week, a very difficult past week. So we want to share those updates with you all. Thank you for the continued prayers and encouragement that we continue to get. So I think we'll kind of start with maybe last Friday, since we did our last video Wednesday of last week. And so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday were very difficult for me because the nausea was just getting super bad. To the point where, before there were foods that I could tolerate and other foods that I couldn't tolerate. It's gotten to the point where the thought of any foods are intolerable, and even the smell of foods started to really bother me. And so, thankfully, the taste of foods, most foods anyway, I can tolerate, and some of the foods even taste okay, but there's still that mental barrier, and just the thought of any foods, by and large, it's kind of repulsive. So we had a meeting we had an appointment on Monday with the lead oncologist for my cancer treatment, and that's Dr. Mantica, the neuro-oncologist, on Monday. This was after my radiation appointment, and I shared a lot of these things with her, and so she wants to adjust my medication, or she did adjust my medication. And so I'll talk a little bit about that, but actually before I do that, we as a family had another challenge on Sunday, and do you want to share that, or do you want me to share that?
You can.
All right, I'll share that. So our kids are getting prepared for baseball/softball season, and they had indoor practice on Sunday, and we have a friend who has a son who also plays with our boys. So the friend took the boys to the practice, and then our daughter Trista had practice a little bit later on. So Carrie took her over to that. And I guess they got there a little bit early. So while they were waiting for the practice to begin, Carrie went to warm up with Trista. And from what you all told me, Carrie was wearing Trista's catcher's mitt, which she wasn't very comfortable with. And so as they were beginning to throw back and forth, Carrie went to adjust the catcher's mitt, and she did that in mid-throw for Trista. So long story short, Carrie got smacked in the face, and and she broke her nose. So she called me up and said, "Brandon, I think I broke my nose," and I'm in the difficult position where, first of all, Sunday it wasn't a very good day. That's the day that it snowed. So, but I did have the van here, but I'm not allowed to drive. So I tried to encourage Carrie to leave the practice and go to the hospital, but she did not want to do that. So she waited for Trista's practice to be over, came home, and then drove herself to the hospital to get checked out. And they quickly confirmed that yes, her nose was broken. Thankfully, it wasn't knocked out of place, to the side. So there's nothing really that they could do. They couldn't put a splint on it. Did they give you some pain medication?
They offered.
They offered, but she turned it down. So anyway, that certainly added to the challenges, particularly for Carrie, and didn't make me feel particularly good that I couldn't do much to help her. It was a very helpless position. So back to Monday, we met with Dr. Mantica. She prescribed me some medication, so put me back on the steroid. As I'm learning and as I'm experiencing these different side effects and symptoms, beginning to believe that the nausea that I'm feeling is not necessarily in my stomach. It might sound weird, but it's more my brain and how my brain is interpreting how I'm feeling, and so I think that's why when I eat foods I keep it down. That's not a problem. It's just I don't know exactly what is causing it, but it's the sight, it's the smell, it's the thought of foods that I'm struggling with, and then the taste and the digestion is fine. So anyway, the reason why she prescribed the steroids for me to get back on this, which I had been off for about a week, she thought that perhaps it had to do with brain swelling, because the radiation therapy can cause brain swelling. So I started back on the steroid last night, took it twice today. Still not there yet, but I guess I have to give it some time to feel better. I did feel a little bit better today. Yesterday, for whatever reason, I wasn't as bad as the weekend, so I did eat a little bit more than I had the weekend. And the odd thing, I think I shared this before, but when I have food in my stomach, the nausea does subside fairly considerably. The difficult part of that is, again, getting the food in there, and then it doesn't last very long. So however long, I guess the food, however long it takes for the food to be digested and then exit my stomach, that's about how long the nausea subsides. So that's, that continues to be the main battle. So I'm back on the steroid. I'm also having to take an antibiotic, and the reason for that is I'm very susceptible to bacterial infection. You might be able to add to that a little bit. I don't know, as far as what the doctor told us, why I have to take that?
Just so, because you're susceptible to infection.
Okay, there wasn't anything in addition to that?
I don't think so.
Okay, I thought she said a little more than that, but anyway, so I'm having to take this antibiotic as a preventative measure. So I'm on the obviously the chemo drug. I'm on the Vimpat for seizures. I'm on the Zofran for nausea. On the dexamethasone, the steroid for brain inflammation. On this bacteria. Bacteria. I'm on the antibiotic for bacterial infections. The doctor also prescribed an additional anti-nausea medication, so that's to be taken as needed.
I think it's Compazine.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. One of
the Pepsid.
the Pepsid, right? And then because I'm back on the steroid, I have to. That's the Pepsid. Never mind. Never mind. Sometimes my brain isn't functioning as well as it ought to be. What else? There's something else I know. I know I'm on 7 or 8 different pills, right?
You said okay, you're on the Vimpat.
Yeah.
Dexamethasone.
Right.
Since you're on the dexamethasone, you're taking the Pepsid.
Right.
And then you're taking the Zofran.
Right.
And then you're taking the other anti-nausea medication,
Right.
and then you're taking the what is that? The
Antibiotic.
antibiotic every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
And the temozolomide, which is the chemo pill.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's it.
No, well, and then she prescribed me the
Ibuprofen. But you don't need
because one of the symptoms I was feeling last week, and I think it's because I wasn't eating very well, I was getting headaches, but that's as needed. And before this whole ordeal, I didn't have any prescription medications. In fact, I don't know since I was a child, and I was prescribed antibiotics. Actually, that's not true. I did have Lyme disease, a short bout with that, and I had an antibiotic for that. But I haven't taken prescription medications, and I'm rather averse to taking prescription medications because while they have their benefits, they also have their drawbacks. And I just don't like the thought of pumping my body full of these pharmaceuticals that can have a lot of negative side effects. But this is only supposed to last until the end of the radiation and chemo, which is still scheduled to happen on March 26th. That will be the last day. The Vinpat I will need to remain on indefinitely, and I guess that's it. There's that second round of chemo that after the first round, I'll have 30 days off or about a month off, and then I'll have this next round that I've discussed before with having it 5 days on, 23 days off. That to me remains up in the air. From the standpoint is I'm not certain that I want to do that. When I decided to go on this standard of care treatment protocol, I did so just trusting that this was what gave me the best probability of having an extended quality life. And what I've experienced over the past 3 weeks has been not much of a quality life. And I say that and not to get down, because here's the reality. I've run into other people at the cancer center who seemingly have it much more difficult than I have it. I've spoken with people on Facebook, through text messages, who are going through or have gone through a much more difficult time than I'm going through. Even from the standpoint of taking pills, we watched this documentary yesterday about Matt Millen, the former football player, and how he had to have a heart transplant. And he's on, what was the number, 69 different medications?
66.
Something like that. Over 60 medications so that his body doesn't reject the heart. So,
a day. Nobody's taking that many pills,
right.
like 60 different pills a day.
Right. And so, that puts my 7 or 8 pills, it makes it seem insignificant. So, I'm sharing these things with you all just to kind of give you a perspective of where we are. But at the same time, I don't want to come across as being negative or complaining, because I'm certainly not. We have a lot to be thankful for. We're reminded of that daily. I was talking with Carrie last night, and we kind of looked at each other, because part of our mentality as of late has been, let's just get through it. Let's get through each day. Let's get through the time, this period until we get through March 26th. And, there are times where, of course, we're human. We can be a little bit more negative and say, oh, great, tomorrow we're just going to have another day like today. But at the same time, we look and all of our children are healthy. We haven't suffered any tragedies. So much happens on a daily basis. I know I have an app on my phone that sends me news stories, local news stories, and there are horrible news stories every day. There was a little boy who suffered severe burns because he got too close to a space heater. People dying in car accidents, people dying in shootings. So, you know, our issues pale in comparison, you know, particularly what we're dealing with currently. So I apologize if in any way it sounds like I'm Debbie Downer, or, you know, woe is me, you know, woe or us.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's real life.
It is.
It's
It's real.
life.
So we also don't want to.
It's like not happy all the time.
No, that's
So
true.
like I think that's something that is not.
Yeah. But we also don't want to portray an image that's false and be all chipper, you know, and say everything's great, because it you know, sometimes it stinks. So, you know, that's kind of where we are. I don't know that we have much else to report, and so I'll finish with the Bible verse tonight, and this one really stuck out to me. I've been jotting down Bible verses. I come across them, and we've also had some friends who have sent us some Bible verses because they've been watching the videos and have suggested Bible verses. So I have those on the list, and hopefully I get to those. But this one really spoke to me because it's so appropriate for what we're facing right now. Okay. And this is from Job chapter 2, verse 10, but it's only part of verse 10. If you want to read all of verse 10, of course you are welcome to do that. And also too, if you are not familiar with the story of Job, here's a story of somebody who faced much greater adversity than I'm facing. In some ways, I empathize with Job in that Job was a man who had 10 children, as we have 10 children. In fact, he had 7 boys and 3 girls. He lost all of them, and God later blesses him, and he has 10 more children. So if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read it. And for me, to read it, it puts our situation in perspective. But anyway, so let me read this verse. Again, Job chapter 2, verse 10. It's the middle part of the verse. It says, "Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity?" And I want to address this in the light. You know, some have asked me. You know, I've done some interviews on the radio station, and have spoken with other people about a situation. One of the questions that I've gotten is, "Don't you see this as unfair?" You know, as far as maybe asking the question, "Why me? Why us? You know, what did we do to deserve this?" It's not necessarily a matter of what did we do. It's a matter of this was God's plan for us. We don't know the mind of God. We can never pretend to even say that we do. And so, you know, how this is going to turn out, how things are going to go in the future, I don't know. But, you know, if I could accept the good things from God, and as I've mentioned before, I've been blessed in immeasurable ways by so many people throughout my life, and I didn't have any problem accepting those good things. So how can I not also accept adversity when it comes? So obviously this is a time of great adversity, and so we continue to ask for your prayers. But we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to ask that God gives us the strength, the courage, the wisdom to make the decisions, you know, particularly with the treatment going forward. We just ask that that God would guide us and direct us in the ways that we are to go. So I'm going to wrap this up tonight. Thank you again for following us here and our journey. I hope that we can provide inspiration and affect people positively. So good night, and God bless.